It is Auburn versus Ole Miss. Take 3. Can the Tigers get the hat trick? Let's talk about it right here inside the town.
The Auburn Express. You are now listening to the War Report Longtown Podcast with your boy Ike Jones.
Town Podcast, you got Ike Jones. We are here talking about Auburn versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss with the buzzer beater victory over Arkansas today in round 2 of the SEC tournament, which means their reward is taking on the Auburn Tigers for a third time. If you are in here watching the live town part of the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, and today brought to you by the folks over at BetUS TV, where the game begins, then thank you so much for taking a little time out of your day to join in the conversation. The question here is, can Auburn get the dub for the third time now versus the Ole Miss Rebels this season? It has been double-digit victories in the first 2, both at home and on the road versus Ole Miss. Auburn looking to get the trifecta versus the Rebels. When we take a look at just the head-to-head between these two teams, this is over the entirety of the season. Auburn scoring 85.2 points per game, Ole Miss 77.6. Ole Miss allowing 71.8 versus Auburn allowing 70. Field goal percentage in favor of Auburn, 48.8 and 44.4 for Ole Miss. 74.7 in the free throw percentage versus 73.7. Rebounding edge to Auburn, 37.4 to 33.3. Assist edge to Auburn, 67.7 to 14.6. Blocks edge to Auburn, 6.4 to 4.0. Steals edge to Ole Miss at 8.6 versus 7 for Auburn. The ESPN matchup predictors gives Auburn an 82.8% chance to win this basketball game versus the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll see what happens this time inside of Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. And listen, let me just start before I get into all of this and say Auburn should win this game. They're the better basketball team. They've got the advantage on the interior. They have the advantage on the rebounding, which is a big thing. You know, everybody's worried, is Auburn going to be able to rebound? Auburn is the better rebounding team in this game. The only concern that Auburn's going to have to get into is the officiating going to be in the direction that they need? Or is Auburn going to be shooting the basketball well? Because let's be clear, they shot the absolute cover off the basketball both times versus Ole Miss. And if they're going to be able to do that again in this game, then there's no way Ole Miss wins this game. However, it's a new season at this point in time. Ole Miss gutted out a win versus a tough Arkansas team that was undermanned. Arkansas was only playing 7 guys in their rotation and ended up getting a guy who was in that rotation. He was hurt, right? Ivisic didn't play very much in the second half of that game. He really came in injured. And then you had some tweaks to an ankle for one guy out there. So and then I think somebody fouled out, like Jonas Adu fouled out in this game, and it still almost went to overtime, right? So Auburn's the better basketball team here. Denver Jones, nothing definitive about him, but I think he should be good if he was able to play in that Alabama game. I don't see his ankle being worse in this game. And Miles Kelly found his shooting stroke again in the second half of that game versus Bama. So there is no reason why Auburn should lose this basketball game other than lacking focus or the officials take over and make this into a free throw shooting contest and Auburn's just not able to knock them down from the free throw line. They should win, right? But let's peel back the numbers a little bit more. First, let's look at the betting lines brought to you by our folks over at BetUS TV. Make sure you head to BetUS TV if you want to get more comprehensive coverage of all of the different sports that are out there, not just college basketball, any sport that you really want to be able to get something on. You can go to BetUS TV. They have a YouTube channel now that covers all sports and gives you betting lines and tips. So if you need a little bit more assistance, because I'm just going to show you the lines, but they're going to give you you assistance with good picks, head over to BetUS TV, and that'll tell them and let them know the War Report sent you when you get over there on those channels. But the spread right now opened up at 10.5 in favor of Auburn. The money line at negative minus 600 for Auburn, 81 to 75.5. The spread with a game over under of 54.5. When you peel back the layers of the two wins that Auburn has already had versus this Ole Miss team, I did take a look at just some of the preliminary numbers here, right? And um, Ole Miss in conference play, we'll just take a look at that first and foremost, uh, was scoring 75.3 points per game, right? That is lower than what their overall season average is. So, right, they dipped down below that season average from 77.6 down to 75.3 when they got into conference play, which again, you're playing tougher teams. You don't have the cupcakes on your schedule. You're going to have an ability to score more points in those situations. Versus Auburn, they were scoring 79 points per game in those games. So they're above both their season and their conference average in the Auburn game. Versus Arkansas, they scored 83 in that game. Again, the 3 points coming at the buzzer at the hands of Sean Padula there. Not quite at the buzzer because Arkansas did have an opportunity to hit another shot, but last second shot there by Padula when he had been struggling that game, but big stones to step up and shoot that shot and make it there in that moment. Free throw percentage, as you can see, they shot free throws better versus Auburn than they have previously. So they were getting to the free throw line and knocking them down. 2-point percentage, doing a much better job than they had been during the season. I'm pretty sure that number is wrong. I have to go back and look at that number. There's no way that number is that big. And I don't have those numbers in front of me. I doubt it's that big, but if they shot that well from two, then that's crazy. 3-point percentage, slightly less. And this is the big thing for Auburn. Auburn did a really good job of getting them away from the 3-point line. And then their turnover percentage, slightly higher versus Auburn than their conference average, and a little bit less than what they did versus Arkansas today. So they did a good job out there versus Arkansas to be able to limit the turnovers, but it was still more than what they had been averaging during the season. And man, I don't think that the point guard name is escaping me. Last name starts with an M. It's not Murray because that's the bigger guard. I don't know why his name is escaping me right now. I don't think he played a very good game. Let me go look at the numbers actually for him in this game because I feel like he was making a lot of bad decisions late in that game. Let's look at the stats from the game box score. It is Murray, Jalen Murray. Morrell is the other guy. Jalen Murray only had 3 turnovers. Like he took some bad shots, only had 3 turnovers though, 5 to 3 assists. That's not terrible. 17 points. I just didn't feel like he was making good decisions late in that game for them. He seemed to just kind of get a little selfish at some points in time where he could have made the better point guard play and was looking to score more so than facilitate when I think the play dictated a facilitation rather than a score. Yeah. Hopefully Auburn can speed up the team and get them to playing in a style that they don't want to offensively while not giving up the ball. This Ole Miss team does not turn the ball over a lot. And in that game, they had 11 turnovers versus versus Arkansas today. So not terrible. They forced 15 turnovers though from Arkansas. And that is really what they do is turning teams over. But the way that Arkansas scores versus the way that Auburn has been scoring in those first 2 games has been a drastic difference for what they're used to giving up because Auburn shot the 3 so incredibly well. When you look at the other side of that, it tells the story here. Auburn's averaging 99 points per game versus Ole Miss in so far in the 2 matchups between the 2 teams. Averaging 99 points and they gave up 80 today, but Auburn is absolutely blazing in scoring versus them. The free throw percentage for Auburn has been off the charts, 81%, when they're normally teams are only averaging 73%, and Arkansas only shot it at 65. So listen, Arkansas lost that game by 3 points today, and from the free throw line, they went 21 of 32, right? They missed 11 free throws and lost by 3. Ole Miss, on the other hand, shot 15 of 20. So they shot a much healthier percentage, much less, but a much healthier percentage. So this is a team in Arkansas that could have won that game from the free throw line, did not do a good job. Auburn needs to be able to knock down their 3 free throws. If they're going to send a team to the line 30 times per game, you got to at least make 25, 26 of those. And if they had done that in Arkansas, made another 5 to 6 free throws, they win that basketball game. From 2 points, Auburn shooting 60% in those games, 51% from three in those games has Auburn done when typically Ole Miss is holding teams in the 30s. And then the turnover percentage for Auburn has been under what Ole Miss has been forcing, 18.3% versus a 14.2 versus Auburn and a 19.9 today versus Arkansas. So Auburn's taken care of the ball. They've shot the three immaculately. They've gotten to the free throw line and shot a healthy percentage. And they've done a good job on the boards, right? And so this should be a recipe for an Auburn win in this game because they have all like you can come back down to earth a little bit in a few statistics and still win this basketball game, right? Auburn's got a 180 from what they've been doing, which is turn the ball over way too much, miss a bunch of wide open shots, and not be able to dominate in the paint. From a rebounding standpoint, Arkansas 38 rebounds to Ole Miss's 32. Right, so they out rebounded them in that regard. 12 offensive boards to Ole Miss's 8. So this is not an Ole Miss team that has reinvented themselves in the tournament, is what I'm trying to get at. They played this one game and they looked like Ole Miss has looked. So if Auburn looks like Auburn, you get an Auburn win in this game. That's the long and the short of it right there. But I do want to get over here into the comment section. I'm live with my Green Name Gang members. So if you're watching this later, we did go live with my members here first and foremost. So thank you to the members who have hopped in here. Doing this today because tomorrow I don't know if I will have the internet to be able to do that from within the arena to give you guys a game day situation, but I'm going to do my best to get you as much info as I can on game day. So please make sure you're following me at least on Twitter, and I'm on Blue Sky now. So TWR Ike Jones on either of those, and I'll try to make sure I'm getting updates to you all in that way throughout the game. But Nina will get you popping here, who says, I'm hoping that win for Ole Miss took a lot out of their gas. I think I would rather play Ole Miss than Arkansas. Honestly, with the way this was playing out and the shortened rotation that Arkansas was having, I didn't mind playing either one of those teams. I was hoping they went to overtime, so they'd be a little bit more tired. Texas and Texas A&M went to double overtime, so Tennessee got a little bit of a extra. So they're going to get a Texas team that has now played 2 games and played a double overtime game in that second game versus a very physical Texas A&M team. So Tennessee might have gotten the luckiest draw ever in that regard, but and Texas A&M is up out of here, right? And so they don't have to deal with that physicality. So Tennessee definitely got lucky there. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the matchup versus Ole Miss is the best of the 3 matchups that there were out there. But I wouldn't mind a 2 games more tired, short rotation Arkansas either. Either of those would have been fine for me. Austin says, what is up? Auburn comes out blazing and shoots 12 threes in the first half. I would love to see 12 threes in the first half, only if you shoot another 5 of them in the second half, though. Don't shoot 12 in the first half and then you go crazy cold from the second half and they come back. So if you're going to shoot 12 of them in the first half, then I need to see like somewhere around 18 in the game, 17, 18 in the game, because that means that you've gone probably completely cold in the second half. And that's not going, unless you're going to also be like clamping down defensively in the first half where, 12 threes, that's already 36 points, right? So let's say you score 50 something points in the first half, depending on how many possessions you're able to get, limit your turnovers. Then if the first half score is something like 56 to 30, something like that, then you can afford to go a little cold in the second half as long as you're still making tough twos and you're not in foul trouble. But if they jump out like that, then I need to see that continued performance in the second half and you put another 90 something points up on the board. Let's see. Nina asked, did I see that Janai won Player of the Year? He did win it for the New York Times, I think, Player of the Year, or Associated Press Player of the Year. I forgot. He's won some National Player of the Year award already. Yes, he's won the SEC Player of the Year. So it's not the big one that everybody's been talking about as far as the Naismith Player of the Year, but he has won, or not Naismith, Naismith's NBA. who is it in college basketball? I forgot who the award's named after in college basketball. Anyway, that's not the big one everybody's been talking about. So it's not over yet. That doesn't even get named, I think, until like the Final Four happens or something like that. So it's going to be into March, going into April before we get the final word on that. Virginia double dribble reminds me of South Carolina last year. We got them by 40 in the regular season, rolled them in the Friday game in the tourney, and they haven't been the same since. This does gonna is I feel like this is gonna look a lot like that. Same thing with Mississippi State, right? The Mississippi State game at Mississippi State didn't do so well. But then Auburn bounces back against them in the tournament. This is lining up very similarly to that, because you're going to get either a Texas team that you had a close win against, or a Tennessee team that you had a close win against if you handle business, versus um, uh, Ole Miss in this game. So you'll have an opportunity not only to beat a team down again, but get a little reprieve from a not so great game in the next game. So we'll see how that turns out. Let's see here. Virginia says, I thought that Ole Miss played a great game at Oxford. It was a good game at Oxford. Auburn actually just didn't do a great job defensively in that game, and they've been much better defensively since then. And then the game in Auburn didn't shoot the three actually as well in the first game at Oxford. Shot the three better in Oxford than they did at home. Still made 11 threes. I think they made like 14 in the first game in Oxford, but defended much better in that game, forcing them into some very tough shots. Let's be clear, forced some very tough shots in Oxford, but gave up less easy shots in Auburn. So that was the thing. Let's see. Seems like you guys covered the player of the year stuff that we were talking about there. It's the Wooden Award. Thank you so much. I was saying Naismith didn't sound right. That sounded like the NBA. So the Wooden Award is what's there for Janai Broome to be able to go out there and get at this point in time. Coach Pearl won his Coach of the Year award in the SEC. He won a National Coach of the Year. Like the award season has been kind to Auburn so far, as it should be when you're a team that has played as well as Auburn and has had as few slip-ups as Auburn has had this season. And listen, I've been very adamant at this point that I don't think that, despite what the fan base is saying, like, Auburn right now doesn't feel like, oh, we're going to go and play really hard in the SEC tournament at the risk of not winning a national championship. No, they want both. They want the SEC tournament championship and they want the national championship. And they're not going to go out there and play scared. They're going to go out there and try to handle business in both of these situations. So I expect for this Auburn team to come out and attempt to absolutely run Ole Miss off of the court and try to get JP Pegues minutes. That's what I expect Auburn to attempt to do to Ole Miss, is get to JP Pegues minutes in this game. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, they feel disrespected right now because of the narrative out there after these two losses, is that they peaked too early, or they are on a downward trajectory. And they want to come out and assert that they're still the team that was the juggernaut that people presumed that they would be going into the SEC season, and then going on that run through the SEC season up until you got to the Florida game. They want to prove that they're that team again, and Janai Broome's a little healthier, and Denver Jones getting back, and Chad Baker-Mazara is healthier, right? Dylan Cardwell's getting healthier. So you're back to physically into that place again, while other teams are just as tired as you are. And so now this is where the depth of Auburn has to show. This is where you're able to send waves of bodies out there while other teams are on fumes and trying to figure out how to summon a little bit more. Auburn is going to continue to plug the machine in and let it go, right? And so I expect heavy minutes from guys like Janai Broome in these games to try to close them out if they're close games. But I expect Coach Pearl to really make sure that this Auburn team has their opportunities to rest and stay physically ready for the next challenge that's going to come while still handling business in the challenge that's in front of them. So they're looking forward to a good game between Auburn and Ole Miss, but a good game in the standpoint that it shouldn't be a nail biter. Like Auburn should win this game. And even if it is a nail biter, Auburn gets the dub, right? If Ole Miss shoots out of their mind and something crazy happens with that in that standpoint, Auburn should still win this basketball game. Again, the only thing that they have to worry about is foul trouble. If they get into foul trouble, but if because and I say that because that's the when I talk about a team being who they are. Auburn is a team that sends people to the free throw line a lot. Auburn is a team that can get their bigs can get into foul trouble. Auburn has not been a team that's turned the ball over a ridiculous amount of times. They've had some silly turnovers, but they're still averaging less than 10 turnovers per game. So if you are who you are, which is a team that struggles on the boards, but boards better than Ole Miss, a team that will turn the ball over every now and then, but not going to turn it over an inordinate amount of times, a team that can knock down anywhere from 7 3-pointers all the way up to 15 3-pointers in a game. If you're going to be that team, then your only thing that you do consistently versus teams like Ole Miss is you let them get a little couple cheap offensive boards when you're because you're not great on the offensive glass, but you should win overall on the glass and get into foul trouble. Those are the things you have to look out for that are a part of the DNA of who you are as a basketball team. That I think can play in the favor of an Ole Miss team that maybe can come in shooting hot because they've had a game to warm up or something like that. However, I don't expect any of that to happen. I expect Auburn to get the win here and move on to the next round to face the winner of Texas versus Tennessee, which we will make sure that we get you some information about that game, should that be the outcome. Get back over here into the chat before we shut this down. Nina says Cooper Flag injured his ankle. I bet Dick Vitale is about to have a stroke. I don't think it's anything serious with the ankle injury for Cooper Flag, but it does hurt their chances of winning the ACC tournament. And if Auburn wins 1 or 2 games here in the SEC tournament, I think it should cement Auburn as the number 1 overall seed. Virginia says, so check this out. The NCAA committee is not allowed to put teams from the same conference 1 and 2 in the same regional. That is correct. So that means that, which is why you see Houston as the number 2 overall seed right now, as opposed to a team like Florida as the number 2 overall seed, even though I think, Florida's, the better team of the two. But I think record-wise, Houston is where they need to be. So what you will likely end up seeing if it plays out the way that it has been going is Auburn number 1 overall, Houston number 2 overall, and Duke number 3 overall with Florida, Tennessee, whoever it is, that's the number 4 overall, likely Florida. Virginia comes back. He says, in other words, we will get Michigan State or Texas Tech. Duke and Houston must get Tennessee or Bama. Big problem for Duke. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is why, and people are like, oh, it doesn't matter as long as you're a number 1 overall seed. To me, this is why it matters which region you're in. If Auburn gets the number 1 overall seed, they should have the region that gets them the best path to get to San Antonio. And so Auburn needs to be able to secure that. And I think a win versus Ole Miss, especially a convincing win, solidifies that for you. So you can't slip here. And listen, Joe Lunardi and all the bracketologists, they think Auburn's already made it. I don't trust the Duke love that's out there. Pause. I just don't trust it, man. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. So Auburn needs to win this game, if for nothing else, to get your confidence back. Let's forget seeding for a second, but just to get the confidence that you have back that, yes, we are still that team. Get you a good win versus Ole Miss. Tuck them in, with 6 minutes left in this game. And again, let's get to JP McGee's minutes, bro. Let's do it. James says, if Duke doesn't get Cooper Flag back from the injury today, I think they will be even more winnable. I mean, he'll be back well before Auburn gets to see him. So it's, again, that injury is not that serious. But the question is, when will he be back? They likely will sit him for the rest of the ACC tournament unless they get to the championship game and they just really want to win that. But I don't see any reason why they should. So he'll rest, and he might even rest the round 1 matchup that they have in the 116 and be a in case of emergency type of situation. So by the time Auburn would have to see Cooper Flag, he will be well back. So um, I don't think it's any worse than Janai Broom's injury was. And, Cooper Flag, younger guy. Now, he does have a different kind of skill set, right? Like he jumps differently and he moves differently. He handles the ball a lot more. So if it's as bad as the Janai Broom injury, which only kept Janai out for a week, then Cooper Flag may be in a situation where when he comes back, he won't look as crisp, right? And so that's maybe a danger that he's going to have to play his way through not being as. But listen, we can worry about Duke and Cooper Flag when the if that even arises, right? There's a long time before Auburn and Duke would even potentially match up out there. So we will see. Ben Bloodworth saying the right thing out here. Can't wait to go 3-0 versus Broken Ugly. You already know what to say, my boy. Because trying to get them up out of here. Get them up out of here. You understand me? So I don't want to. I don't want to have to deal with none of that nonsense. And again, it quiets some of the narrative down as well. But yeah, let's get them up out of here so we can make sure that we have an Auburn team that's going into the NCAA tournament with a little tailwind, right? Little wind in their sails heading into that. So Devin says he's not coming back for the ACC tournament, but they kind of looked better without him, to be honest. Looked better without him versus whom, right? And so, because it's the ACC, man. Everybody looked good in the ACC versus all them other mediocre teams in the ACC. So, man, bro, let me see him play a team with a pulse. I bet you if they play Clemson again, you know, see him like who did they even play? They ain't playing nobody, bro. So, um, but yeah, man, we'll see. Again, that's not a concern for Auburn until much later down the road. They won't be in the same region as Auburn. And so it wouldn't be until a Final Four situation at earliest that you would even have to think about a Duke versus Auburn matchup. And again, if they make it to the Final Four, he will be back. So that is not a thing that will impact Auburn in the slightest. But listen, I'm all for hate watching of other teams that beat Auburn at some point in time and wishing them nothing but the worst. I was glad to see Texas A&M lose today to Texas, even though I picked them. Listen, your boy Ike Jones did not pick very well in this SEC tournament so far. I think, let me see here. I said that Vanderbilt was going to lose. I mean, was going to beat Texas. That didn't happen. So, I didn't have Texas versus Texas A&M even on my situation right there. I also said I thought that Georgia was going to win versus Oklahoma. That didn't happen. So I was not in on that at all. I had Texas A&M moving on to face Tennessee. Of course, they didn't do that. But, I had them playing Vandy. But still, they didn't do that. And then I did have Ole Miss winning, and so I had Missouri in their game, but I think I had Missouri. Yeah, I had Missouri winning the game today, which I don't know what's going on with that. And then I had Georgia moving on again in that game versus Kentucky. So I just been all wrong. So listen, only thing that's why I stick to talking about Auburn. When I talk about what I know about, these other teams, I don't watch them enough to be that predictable. And I didn't do well on that stuff. Let's just say that. So we'll see what happens. But all I know is Auburn needs to keep marching on, and I am looking forward to that victory process right there. That's it, man. I'm cutting this out of here, and I appreciate y'all for jumping in here with me. Make sure when this goes live that you share this content with somebody, that you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will be back giving you some sort of reaction, some form of reaction from Nashville tomorrow. I'm hitting the road tomorrow to Nashville, down to go watch Auburn play in the SEC tournament. Maybe you'll see me on TV or something. We'll see. I don't know any of that, but I'm out of here, man. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle, peace.